Hey everybody, welcome to Touchdown BC. I'm Ryan Sullivan. Another quality broadcast is on tap for you as we give you the final SFU regular season report card. High school playoffs are getting thinner as we go in AAA and AA, while the Tier 2 final kicked off this past weekend. We've got all your highlights. Our insider, Dino Jeremia, will be here as well to catch us up on all that is Grey Cup to get us ready for the coming weekend. And we'll also talk a little Vanier and get you primed for your next game with a few more drills. First, though, here's our SFU insider, Mackenzie Dalgleish, with a look back at a step in the right direction.
The Clan opened their season against Menlo College, where there was some good, like this diving touchdown catch by Cal Kawamoto, but also some bad. And in the end, the bad outweighed the good, as Menlo won 31-24. A week later, and the defense was carved up by the big play, as Western Oregon cruised to the 38-14 victory, dropping the Clan's record to 0-2. Week 3 saw SFU almost erase a 20-point deficit and recovered the onside kick down 8 with a minute to go. But their fourth down attempt would sail incomplete, losing to Azusa Pacific 32-24. Week 4 was the border battle, but it was deja vu as Central Washington blocked not one, but 2 consecutive punts, returning them for touchdowns, leading to a 63-7 victory over SFU. With a record of 0-4, SFU finally got into the win column as Earl Anderson's 61-yard punt return touchdown helped spark the Clan to a 29-19 victory over Dixie State in Utah. But that victory was short-lived as Division I Idaho State scored 6 touchdowns of 20 or more yards, just like this one, hammering SFU 66-14. Returning home, the Clan bounced back as Lamar Durant scored 3 touchdowns to help SFU win their second game 53-31 over South Dakota School of Mines. And looking to avenge their earlier season loss to Western Oregon, the Clan took a lead into halftime thanks to this long Durant touchdown. But the Wolves came back in the end to win 27-16. Humboldt State pulled away in the second half to win 33-17 at Swangard Stadium, as did Azusa Pacific a week later, 21-6. In the season finale, SFU scored first, but Central Washington blocked the extra point and returned it, leading to 2 of their 40 points, as Central won 40-27 to end the season and give SFU an overall record of 2-9.
All right, we welcome in our SFU insider, Mackenzie Dalgleish. You just voiced that piece. Nicely done, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's start things out with some great news coming out of Simon Fraser.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate Jordan Herdman on being named GNAC Defensive Player of the Year. I thought maybe 2 wins would kind of overshadow that because Casey Chin last 3 years had led the GNAC in tackles and he never was named Defensive Player of the Year. But credit to Jordan Herdman, I guess breaking a record does it for you. So he was one of 10 players that were honored at the end of the year, obviously being named GNAC Defensive Player of the Year is the biggest. He was first team all-conference. Lamar Durant joined him as first team all-conference. Michael Couture, center, joined him on first team all-conference. Second team, Felix Goscana, offensive guard, was a second team member on the defensive line. Jamie Puffer and Quinn Horton. Fellow linebackers, Mitchell Barnett, and then in return game, Earl Anderson and Nikolai Karpin were second team all-conference, and then Bobby Pospisil was honorable mention all-conference. So though the season didn't go according to plan and only 2 wins, they were able to get some recognition for individual accolades.
Now, you mentioned some wideouts there. We're going to get to those in just a second with some subtractions, some key subtractions coming up to the team. But let's go through this kind of position by position. Quarterbacks. Let's hear the report card and even perhaps what's next.
Inconsistent. It would be my grade on the quarterback. Ryan Stanford started the season. He seemed to grasp what Chalk Chaplain wanted from an offensive standpoint at the quarterback position, but then just didn't work out. The team was losing effort-wise for Stanford. Never a question, always going out there. I know, again, we've mentioned that sometimes Stanford, or it's not Stanford's effort was questioned, but the rest of the team, and that kind of put him at a disadvantage. However, they went with a change, brought in Tyler Nickel. He led them to their first win and then didn't get them anywhere else, and then Stanford gets thrown back in. Mitchell Rushton saw some time, and anytime you're seeing 3 quarterbacks play, it's usually not a good thing. So going forward, it's going to be interesting. You got all 3 are eligible to come back. They're going to have another year in the offense, another year in the system, but then you're going to have a redshirt freshman in Derek Becker. He's on the smaller side, but he's very athletic and mobile. And he's got a pretty good arm. It's all just going to come down to, can he master the offense? Can he learn it? Because it is a complex offense. So it should be a pretty good battle in spring camp and seeing who comes forward. And it'll be interesting to see if all 3 upperclassmen do come back, because it's pretty crowded. They're all going to be seniors. And we'll see if who comes out on top and if someone leaves after the end of spring camp.
Typically, these guys are the quarterback's best friend. Let's talk running backs here, the guys that can usually help them move the chains. What are your thoughts?
It's going to be interesting for the running backs. They lose Chris Tolbert, who was kind of lost for the season because he moved to defensive back. Steven Spagnuolo, who's probably the lone bright spot on offense, aside from Lamar Durant and Michael Couture on the offensive line. He graduates. Cole Tudor, who came in because of an injury to Chris Tolbert, he's gone due to graduation. So it's only leaving right now Genna Adams as the guy who's had any meaningful playing time. So this is a position that needs to be recruited. They're kind of dispersed in where guys were in their class years. And it's going to be, I think, Genna Adams' team going forward. And the running back position, he's proven in his few amount of carries that he can be that little pinball guy. He's from Arizona. He played big-time football down there. So we'll see if that can transfer up here. And then they're going to have to recruit. And it'll be interesting to see how Jacques can go and get those guys and if they can be able to step in right away at such a young age.
All right, now here's where we're alluding to the key subtractions. Let's talk wide receivers.
This is probably the biggest hit, I think, or one of the, at least on offense, the biggest hit. You're losing Lamar Durant, who declared for the NFL draft and CFL draft. You're losing Bobby Pospisil, and you're losing Kyle Kawamoto, 3 guys that have been reliable the last 3 years for SFU. And you're going to have to replace them with new guys. However, it was one of the deeper positions, but consistency. Again, at the beginning of the season with Lamar Durant out, you had Sam Swerhorn come in, and he kind of was on the map at the beginning, and then he fell off. And then you had Justin Buren come in, a redshirt freshman, and then he had his little moment, and then he fell off. So it's going to be interesting to see if those guys can now step up and be the guys, because Bobby Pospisil, Lamar Durant, Kyle Kawamoto, week in and week out would be consistent and be there. Now you're going to have the young guys that have never done that before. They're going to get Jamal Kett now, and Jacques Chapelain's offense is really no tight end, and he's the body of a tight end, but he's more of a receiver now. And he's going to have over a year now coming off of ACL surgery, and he said he wasn't 100% all season, and now he's going to be able to have another off season to get stronger and get bigger, and he's going to be the guy that they're going to look to and have to be the guy to lead.
All right, now when you look back at the scoreboard throughout the season, a lot of points were put up on Simon Fraser, and the guys that you can usually help limit that are on the D-line. What are your thoughts?
This, I'd say, is the biggest hit for the defensive side. You're losing Justin Williams and Christian Lawrence, 2 senior defensive tackles, guys that were able to clog the middle. Keenan North on the end, at defensive end, he's gone. So again, a lot of experience being lost. Kind of a silver lining, Martin Duckhorn, defensive end, he was lost to injury in fall camp. He tore his Achilles, and that was going to be an all-senior defensive line. And then, great for this year, but again, going forward, not. So a blessing kind of in disguise that he gets to come back. He has 1 more year of eligibility. And then Quinn Horton, who we mentioned was a second-team all-conference, so he's got to step up and be the guy now because Williams and Lawrence are gone. And then they have some other young guys that they're hoping. Ray Arcega's got to step up. Kyle Wilson was a young guy that is going to be relied on. And then Jamie Puffer, second-team all-conference member, and a guy that I think was a little underrated, came in, never really played a lot at SFU, had over 16 tackles for a loss, and he's going to be another guy that's going to be relied upon going forward.
All right, the good news here, they have a player of the year, as we mentioned right off the top, in the fold, but let's touch on the linebackers.
Linebackers are pretty much all intact. You're going to have Jordan Herdman in the middle, you're going to have Justin Herdman on the other side, and Mitchell Barnett on the other side for at least 1 more year. Herdman twins are going to be juniors going into next year, while Barnett will be a senior. So that's going to be all intact. I think that's going to be big for them, that you're going to have 3 experienced guys that have had plenty of snaps and under their reps under their belt. And then they have the depth there too. Emmanuel Agbozo, he's a guy that they thought could play as well. And then a couple other young guys that they feel that they can. But again, recruiting, and you always got to think to the future because you only get them for 4 years.
All right, now let's move things back and to the outside a little bit as well. Let's talk D-backs and safeties.
This is going to be an interesting position. They lose Chris Tolbert at second in the cornerback position. They lose Matt Isherwood, one of their safeties. But they get everyone else back. But it was a position that was kind of weak. They had no depth. Injuries came, injuries hit. they lost. They didn't have guys to kind of fill those positions. So it's another one that will need to have guys recruited in, and it's going to take a couple, 2 or 3 years to develop those players and make them be able to have that chance to compete against the GNAC.
All right, now before we get to the sideline and talk about the direction of this team, let's talk about special teams, kicking and punting.
Well, starting the return game, Earl Anderson, he was a second-team all-conference selection. He's a guy that had a 61-yard touchdown in that highlight pack that we talked about, and he's here for 1 more year. He's always a dynamic guy that can take it back anytime he touches it in the kick game or punt game. So he should be good to go for next year. He'll have 1 more year to hopefully set some more records and do some damage there in the return game. And then kicking, they returned both kickers. Tiernan Doherty kind of had a coming out season for him. He came off surgery last year. This year he was able to step in and make some clutch field goals. Kind of was the offense in some games, which is never a good thing, and why they lost so many games because you're relying on the kicking game. But he comes back. He should only get better. Nikolai Karpin, second team, all-conference member in punting, really stepped his game up, and he's got 1 more year. So in the kicking game, for at least 1 more year, they'll have 3 seniors, but you got to develop underneath them. So Chaplain's got to go find someone else there too.
Should have mentioned returners. Sorry about that, Earl Anderson. But like you say, right there, let's touch on Jacques Chapdelaine. His first year on the job. How are things looking moving forward?
It'll be interesting for Jacques because he's still learning. This is his first year as an NCAA coach, first year coaching at the college level in over a decade, coming from the CFL. And it's difficult because you want to go out, you want to recruit, you want to get the best players in Canada. You're going against the CIS schools. But the CIS doesn't have the same rules as the NCAA. There's blackout periods, there's dead periods. I know there's some in the CIS, but the NCAA is very strict on when you can, how you can contact, when you can contact, how long, when you can come in for a visit. And so it's going to be interesting. And I think in the States it's big for signing day, which is the first Wednesday in February. And that's kind of the big deal. Everyone has their pick in the hat and who they're going to. But in Canada, it's not like that. And usually the recruiting classes are set more in the summer. And that's going to be give him at least some more opportunity to get in there and try and compete. But he's going to have to hit the ground running. I know they set the foundation last summer, kind of getting ready for the 2015 class and 2014 class. There wasn't a lot in there. So his staff's got their work cut out for him. I know they want to go down into Washington, maybe sprinkle into some Oregon, but they really want to get with BC. They want to get Ontario and Quebec. I know they made a big push for that in the summer in the eastern provinces compared to out here. I know they like to think they're the center back there. And then it'd be interesting to see how the Prairies go. You got Jordan Herdman winning Defensive Player of the Year, so maybe that opens up some recruiting ties there. Yeah,
definitely raised some eyebrows in Manitoba for sure. Now, definitely the most important question we have moving forward for recruitment. Does SFU on the table, are the hats strap back or are they flex fit?
I think with the kids nowadays, they like the snapback. I was always one of the pro, one size, only your size fits you. So, but I don't know, I'm getting old.
Oh, there you go. You and me both, buddy. His name's Mackenzie Dalglish. He's our SFU insider. BC High School football quarterfinal weekend took over the province last week. Let's take a look now at who will be moving on and who will be getting ready for 2015. All right, let's start things out with the AAA ranks. Terry Fox, the Ravens absolutely destroying the New Westminster Hyaks at home, 37-0. Mount Douglas, the Rams, staying hot, 57-blank. They shut out Kelowna. Also, South Delta just clipping Lord Tweedsmuir by the score of 9-7. STMC, St. Thomas More, 54. Vancouver College on the road, only putting up 20. Now let's look at the AA ranks. Vernon with the big win, 36-6 over Abbotsford at home. Meanwhile, Hugh Boyd at home taking one on the chin from Bolinas, 42-12 the final. Also in AA, Carson Graham on the losing end at Mission, 34-14 for the Roadrunners. John Barsby with a 27-24 win over Seaquam. Now let's take a look at your Tier 2 final. Earl Marriott, they are the champs. They take out Eric Hamber, 7-6. There's the trophy. There's the champs in Tier 2. All right, there you go. Now, as always, we welcome in our BC High School football insider from Football BC, Dino Jeremiah. And let's start things out talking AAA football heading into semifinal weekend.
Yeah, not too many surprises. We talked way back in September about St. Thomas More, Terry Fox, Mount Doug. We saw South Delta knock off Vancouver College early in the year. So sure enough, here they are. It's playoff time. I think all teams are built for success at this time of year. They have high-powered offenses, and especially in the case of St. Thomas More, they've really improved across the line of scrimmage. So I expect them to see a great game against Mount Doug, between St. Thomas More and Mount Doug. Like I said, I think they can match athlete for athlete, and Angus Reid has been helping the offensive line at St. Thomas More, so I expect them to be better and challenge Mount Doug there.
Very nice. And bold prediction. Who's coming out of this weekend in AAA?
Well, I mean, I sat here in September and said Terry Fox, and Terry Fox, I think they're going to have a tough game with South Delta. I think they're going to be, South Delta will be a formidable opponent, but I think coming out of it this weekend, I'm going to make a little bit of a surprise here. I'm going to say Terry Fox and St. Thomas More.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. We can both agree on Terry Fox, of course, just coming off that steamrolling of New Westminster as well. I'm going to have to go Mount Doug. It's hard for me not to, just to play devil's advocate anyhow.
There you go.
Why don't we look over AA this weekend?
Yeah, I think, again, it's great to see Vernon have some success from the interior. And you know, not a lot known about Vernon because they played so many games outside the Lower Mainland, so haven't had a chance to see them play. But every time you think they're going to get knocked off, they seem to come out with a win. So I'm really hoping that they, for the sake of the province, for the sake of football, that there is some representation from the interior there. So all the best with Vernon going in. And then, of course, I think Mission they hit a couple bumps in the road, but I think they're back on it. And as I've mentioned before, Jesse Walker is a huge talent, and he can carry that team.
All right, now you got AAA, you got AA. Let's talk Tier 2. Take it away.
Congratulations, Earl Marriott and Coach Michael Mackay-Dunn. He's a fantastic person, and I know he's worked hard with that program. They were able to take advantage of Nissan, provided a grant for some football teams here, and it's great to see him have some success with that program, and congratulations, Michael.
Very nice. There you go. His name's Dino Jeremiah. He's our BC High School football insider.
Whether it's your first home, a refinance, or an investment property, Kia Grant & Associates can find a mortgage solution for you. In association with Barico Paragon, the work she does for you is free. Find her on Facebook at Kia Grant Mortgages.
It's official. This year's Grey Cup is set. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will be taking on the Calgary Stampeders in a rematch of the 1999 Grey Cup, which was also played at BC Place right here in Vancouver. Hamilton took that game by a score of 32-21. We now check back in with Football BC's Dino Jeremiah with more on the big game prep. All right, he's switched over from BC High School football insider to Grey Cup insider. Dino Jeremiah is back. And now Football BC, very entwined with the Grey Cup weekend on the way. What's going on for you guys during the week?
Well, I have to start with first, we're having a fundraiser for our provincial teams and a lot of the things that we do with our provincial teams, travel, tryouts, etc. So that's Thursday night. Come on out to Kaylee's in Kits.
I'll be there.
And yeah, you're committed, and just have a great time. We're honoring some of the guys that have gone on from high school, community, junior, university football in BC, and went on and won a Grey Cup. So it's going to be a great time with some of those former Grey Cup winners there, and great support from our football community. So everybody's welcome. Please come out to that.
Very nice. And then coming up this weekend?
This weekend, well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the Grey Cup is going to have a field, turf field in Jackpool Plaza, and kids are invited to come out, so we really encourage you to come out and bring the kids out, throw a football, throw on your favorite CFL jersey, run through some bags, maybe hit a few other kids along the way, and just have some fun with football. And then on Saturday afternoon, we're going to do a little tribute to our grade 6 and 7 development provincial teams, and recognize some of those players that have made it and are recognized as best in the province. And
on Saturday, your Touchdown BC photo signing session is from what time at Jackpool Plaza?
I'll do it for you anytime.
Beautiful. Look at that. Sell him on Craigslist, no problem.
Yeah.
There we go. His name's Dino Jeremiah. He's our Grey Cup insider. All right, it's time to sit back, put those feet up, break out the notepad, and grab a football. It's drill time, and for this, we meet up with head coach Prepchuk.
Okay, in this segment, we're going to teach the quarterbacks throwing on the run technique, proper throwing on the run technique. Now, whether your offense incorporates a sprint out game or a bootleg pass game, play action, where the quarterback is sprinting out by design, or if your quarterback is just scrambling and running because he has to scramble out of the pocket, we always have to teach the quarterbacks proper throwing technique on the run. If you're a right-handed quarterback, it does not matter if you're going to roll out to the right-hand side or rolling out to your left-hand side. You will always throw off of your right foot. We want to make sure that you throw in the direction of the throw. So if I'm throwing to Liam right here, in this position right here, I want to make sure that as I throw towards Liam, and I want to get up on my toe. So big up on my toe, nice high release, elbow up above the shoulder, as we did in our earlier drills. Up above, we're throwing here, continuing to have that good follow through. And now it's important that we square our shoulders to our target. So if I'm throwing to Liam right here, I do not want to run this way and throw across my body this way right here. I'm not going to be able to get any zip on the ball. As I fall away, I'm not going to get any velocity on the ball as well. I want to make sure that as I throw to my target, I want to make sure that I finish in that way. So that's one of the first drills we're going to talk about, is making sure that we're just getting used to throwing on the run. We're getting used to throwing from the toe, throwing with a nice high release. If Liam is on my left-hand side and I'm rolling to my left-hand side, a little bit deeper there you go. Now, as we throw to our left-hand side, we want to make sure, again, our shoulders are square to our target. So I don't want to be drifting off here, throwing across my body and drifting away from my target. I want to make sure that I finish towards my target. Finish towards my target. Up on the toe, high release as I throw off my toe. Now, important coaching point is you're throwing to the left-hand side. As you're rolling out, to get your shoulders square to your target, we talk to the players about putting the ball up in their ear hole, right in here. So we put the ball up in their ear hole, right here. What does that do to my shoulders? It squares my shoulders to the target coming down this way. Okay, so as I roll out, I'm here, ball in the ear hole, squares my shoulders, attack, go towards.
The 50th Vanier Cup is now set in stone. The McMaster Marauders and the Montreal Carabin will go toe-to-toe at Percival Molson Memorial Stadium at McGill University. To get us primed for the big game and to take a look back at last week's UTEC and Mitchell Bowl, here is Andrew Wadden of the nationally syndicated CIS Football Review and Magazine show, Crown Countdown U. All right, we welcome in our CIS insider from Crown Countdown U, Andrew Wadden. Now, as mentioned, the Vanier Cup is set. We got McMaster, we got Montreal, but let's go back to last weekend's action. Some great games. The Mitchell Bowl, McMaster, Mount Allison. Give us some BC connections.
All right, well, McMaster won the game, of course, 24-12. But the starting quarterback for the Mount Allison Mounties, who we know very well on this show, Brandon Lay, he had himself a fantastic game for the Mounties, of course, though, in defeat. The Mounties can really hold their heads high, though, this season. Just a great year, back-to-back AUS championships. On the other side of the ball, the McMaster Marauders, Alan Dix, the defensive back, had another interception in this game, so he's moving on to the Vanier Cup. But like I said, not a huge BC contingent between those two squads. All
right, now let's touch on the UTEC. We got Manitoba, we got Montreal. Who stood out in this one from the province?
Well, I mean, this is where we get real heavy when it comes to BC contingent. Of course, 22 players on the Bison's rosters with BC, just from BC alone, and that doesn't include BC connections. Brian Doby, of course, loves to look at BC junior football to get players, and one of the guys that he got was Jordan Yance, who's now played his final game with the Bisons. Just a fantastic game and fantastic performance. Almost led the Bisons to what would have been an upset victory over the Carabins. Had himself a great game on the ground. ground and in the air, and just put in one of those phenomenal performances that really defines his career, because he was a great quarterback in the Canada West. Of course, he was a VI Raider, and his VI Raider teammate, Matt Sawyer, one of the best receivers in the Canada West, had a great game as well, of course, in defeat. And also another BC contingent is Dustin Peterson out in Nanaimo, had a fantastic game, 5 receptions, 87 yards, really helped the Bisons when they were trying to get their way down the field against the Caribans, but of course they came up short and lost that game. And another shout out has to go out to Jordan Linnon, who had another interception in his final CIS game. Now looking at the Bisons at the quarterback position, they're going to lose a lot of skilled guys at receiver. Of course, they're losing Yance, who's now done. And looking at the quarterback position moving forward, there is some BC connections there. Teo Dizar, who looks to be the starting quarterback for next year. Big kid, 6'5", played 1 season with the Okanagan Sun. And then, of course, there's Ashton McKinnon. Now, you might remember Ashton McKinnon. He played at Mount Doug. 6'7", this kid is. And some say, though, that as athletic as he is, they might move him into receiver. I mean, we'll have to see moving forward. But again, those Bisons, they love looking at BC when it comes to farming players.
Yeah, and we saw Dizar in a few games, a couple appearances during the regular season. Manitoba, give it a couple years, they could still be in good hands.
And I think they will be. I mean, Brian Dobie, everyone loves him as a coach, but he does his work when it comes to recruiting, and you can see it. He digs. He gets those BC junior football players that maybe some guys might have forgotten about, and he gets over to the province and does his due diligence. He doesn't just pick out of his home area in Manitoba there. So, I mean, just the way Dobie puts his team together, I would not be surprised if they're able to fill those positions, no problem, and just keep doing what they do in the Canada West.
All right, now we have 2 gone.
Yep.
And we have Manitoba. We have McMaster, we have Montreal, and they're battling for the trophy sticking out of the back of your head on our backdrop.
Yeah.
The Vanier Cup. Set us up here. Who's going to take it and why?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, the fact that Montreal is there surprising everybody. Of course, Laval being the monster that they are in the RCQ, everybody would have penciled them in, maybe even put them in with Penn at the start of the season. So the Caribans are there for the first time. McMaster, well, this is nothing new to McMaster. I think that's 3 Yates Cups in the last 5 years, their 3rd Vanier Cup appearance in the last 5 years. This is going to be a tough one, but I really think that Montreal is going to take it, and I think they're going to take it quite easily. I could see like 33-16 for Montreal. Again, it's in Montreal, so they're going to be playing in front of their hometown. I mean, but, you know, Hamilton is not too far. I'm sure they're going to have a huge contingent of fans there for the Marauders, but this game, to me, if I was a betting man, and I have been many times in my life, I'm going to put my money on the Caribans.
I like it. It's a good call. His name's Andrew Wadden. He's our CIS insider. That does it for all of us here at Touchdown BC. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe out there this Grey Cup and Vanier weekend and enjoy some fantastic football. I'm Ryan Sullivan, and I'll be seeing you next week.